Throughout history, pivotal events have shaped the trajectory of societies and influenced the ideologies that continue to drive modern movements. From the fight for civil rights to environmental activism, these historical moments have inspired generations to advocate for justice, equality, and change. Here are the top 10 historical events that continue to inspire and inform contemporary social, political, and cultural movements. 1. The American Civil Rights Movement, 1950s–1960s. The American Civil Rights Movement, led by figures such as Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X, was instrumental in challenging racial segregation and discrimination in the United States. The movement's success in securing landmark legislation such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 has inspired numerous contemporary social justice movements, including Black Lives Matter, which advocates for racial equality and the end of systemic racism. 2. Women's suffrage movement, 19th–20th century. The global struggle for women's right to vote, with key events like the Seneca Falls Convention of 1848 in the US and the suffrage movement in the UK, marked a pivotal moment in the fight for gender equality. The persistence and dedication of suffragists like Susan B. Anthony, Emmeline Pankhurst, and others laid the foundation for modern feminist movements, which continue to push for equal rights, reproductive freedom, and the end of gender-based violence. 3. The fall of the Berlin Wall, 1989. The fall of the Berlin Wall signified the end of the Cold War and the beginning of the reunification of East and West Germany. This historic event symbolized the triumph of freedom and the rejection of oppressive regimes, inspiring modern movements for democracy, human rights, and freedom. It also became a powerful symbol for the people of Eastern Europe and other regions fighting for political freedom and self-determination. 4. The abolition of slavery, 19th century. The abolition of slavery, marked by events such as the Emancipation Proclamation in the US in 1863 and the British Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, was a defining moment in the history of human rights. The abolition movement, led by figures such as Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, and William Wilberforce, inspired modern anti-slavery and human trafficking movements. Today, activists continue the fight for racial justice and the eradication of modern-day slavery. 5. The French Revolution, 1789–1799. The French Revolution, which ushered in ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity, has been a source of inspiration for modern movements advocating for democracy, political freedom, and social justice. The revolution's call for the rights of man influenced revolutions around the world and continues to inspire movements advocating for civil rights, universal suffrage, and the empowerment of the oppressed. 6. The Civil Rights Movement in South Africa, 1948–1994. The anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa, led by figures like Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, and Steve Biko, inspired global movements for racial equality and justice. The eventual end of apartheid and the establishment of a democratic South Africa in 1994 remains a powerful symbol of resistance to oppression. The movement continues to inspire efforts to dismantle systemic racism and achieve racial reconciliation. 7. The Stonewall Riots, 1969. The Stonewall Riots in New York City were a turning point for the LGBTQ+ rights movement. These riots, sparked by a police raid on the Stonewall Inn, led to the formation of activist groups like the Gay Liberation Front and the Fight for LGBTQ+ Rights. The movement has since evolved to advocate for marriage equality, transgender rights, and the recognition of LGBTQ+ individuals as equal members of society. 8. The Indian Independence Movement, 1947. Led by Mahatma Gandhi and other freedom fighters, the Indian independence movement was marked by non-violent civil disobedience and a determination to end British colonial rule. The successful struggle for independence inspired countless other decolonization movements around the world, as well as modern movements advocating for self-determination, sovereignty, and the rights of indigenous populations. 9. The Haitian Revolution, 1791–1804. The Haitian Revolution, which resulted in the first independent black republic and the abolition of slavery in the Western Hemisphere, was a major event in the fight against colonialism and slavery. Led by figures like Toussaint Louverture, the revolution inspired future liberation movements and continues to serve as a symbol of resistance against oppression and racial inequality. 10. The Labor Movement, 19th–20th century. The labor movement, which emerged during the Industrial Revolution, fought for workers' rights, fair wages, and better working conditions. Key events like the Haymarket Riot of 1886 and the founding of labor unions contributed to the establishment of worker protections and labor laws. The labor movement laid the groundwork for modern advocacy around workers' rights, including minimum wage laws, workplace safety, and collective bargaining. These historical events have shaped the way societies view justice, equality, and freedom. The struggles and victories of past generations continue to inspire modern movements that advocate for social, political, and cultural change. From civil rights and gender equality to racial justice and workers' rights, the legacy of these events serves as a reminder of the power of collective action in shaping a more just and equitable world. As these movements continue to evolve, they remind us that progress is often the result of perseverance, solidarity, and the unwavering pursuit of human dignity.